From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of Evenings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. We'll go over the breaking news as now 1, 2, 3 major checks have now landed in people's bank accounts, and I'll show you how to get these checks. But you gotta make the effort to do it. It's not something you can just hold a donut and bounce into the weekend. It's Easter weekend and we're ready to bounce if we're a bunny, or the wrong type of bunny. Whether we're a beach bunny or a buff bunny, we got a lot of money to get for you tonight. And from the shores of Santa Monica, California, for April 16th, 2022, great news across the board. We'll be going over the Build Back Better Act today. The incredible Build Back Better Act has lots of checks in there, and those checks need to be done before the gross national product of the U.S. economy sinks, heading into recession. What will happen then? We'll go over supply chain, and then we go right into the exciting details of that SS300 that'll raise your benefits up quickly before that recession comes in faster than you thought. Then we'll be turning to the great news about that sixth stimulus. Sixth stimulus lining up, and that is to battle recession caused by Vladimir Putin. Then we'll be turning to the changing developing details of what's going on with the White House. Viewers are becoming reacclimated to the notion of the White House doing a lot of things by executive action. First, we had one stimulus check, then we had a second stimulus check, and now we have 3 items of student loan debt forgiveness that have been done by the White House in the last few days. Yes, who knows about Congress? We're focusing on the White House. Major deals being done by the White House, and will continue to be done in this new week. I'll have a little bit more about those details tonight in Evenings LA. Plus, we'll be looking at the supply chain disruption that's being caused by China and that subvariant of Omicron that could spread likely across Europe and Asia, says a series of new reports. Is the Federal Reserve doing it wrong? Is the White House doing it wrong? And what does that mean for your money tonight? From the shores of Santa Monica, California, it's a beautiful Easter weekend, and we're getting ready for the beach if we're a bunny, and ready for the gym if we are a beach buff guy. And then if you're a bunny, then, maybe you're looking for the right type of stimulus for the weekend. I don't know if I want to go there, but let's say it's a big night, it's a big evening, and the excitement details start right now. On America's most watched show for financial news, it's Evenings LALATE. And good evening, everybody. It's a beautiful night for April 16th, 2022 from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Big money for you tonight. In tonight's recording, we have a lot to go over, as not less than 3 stimulus checks have now landed. A 4th stimulus check, a second 4th stimulus check, and an MSC check. Plus, the President of the United States not only giving out stimulus checks by executive order, but also forgiving student loan debt, and also doing other things like taking student loan debts out of default status. A lot of things being coming out of the White House in the last few days. This is after the White House also released some oil from the strategic reserves to bring down the price of gasoline. A lot of activity by the White House in less than 7 days. We haven't seen this type of activity in a while, and this is as Congress is really, in some views, stalled up. So the good news tonight is that the White House is getting you stimulus checks. The White House is getting you student loan debt forgiveness. The White House is also getting you approaches to get that oil fixed, but is it working? All the latest details today across the board. As we go into a big night of Evenings LA, it's important to get the pen and paper ready, because over this 1-hour broadcast, we have huge checks that have landed. And it's important for you to understand how to get these checks. They are not something that you can hold a donut and watch for it to land in your bank account. And tonight we meet a new character on this channel. We call them yodels. Who are yodels? If you're on the live chat, jump in and think what you think is a yodel. All the latest details on that later in this recording. But first, let's start with those big checks. Not 1, not 2, but 3 major checks will be covered later in this recording. Their law. They have been sent out by the President of the United States. They're a $6,500 check. They are a $15,000 to $80,000 check, and they are an MSC check. How to get those incredible checks, stay with me. They're coming up late in this video. I'll explain them in detail. Don't jump in with the yodeling just yet. And if you know what a yodel is, jump in the live chat and send your guesstimate on what a yodel is across the board. As we go into a big, beautiful night of evenings LA for Easter weekend, where the bunnies are in full force, or unfortunately in full force. We're going to look at that Build Back Better Act, those incredible checks that are in there across 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. Huge. And let's look at the incredible details across the board. $15,000 to $80,000 of checks that are in there that pay you a lot of money. This is the Build Back Better Act. It is a congressional bill, and it has $15,000 across 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. The first cluster has in there hazard pay, 1 more year of the earned income tax credit for essential workers. Huge. Then $4,000 of elder care got in there. $3,600 for the CTC, 1 more year. $4,000 of care for young children got in there. $550 checks for the college students. Then they got in there the huge home repairs if you live in a low-income community. And then $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. Wow. What else would you like to buy that's brand new? A brand new home. It sounds like the price is right, doesn't it? It's a brand new home. It's behind that wall. It's a little bit less than $25,000. That is in that first add-on of checks. Wow. Maxine Waters got it in there. Just a little bit less than $25,000 that will be given from the federal government to the seller in your name at the time of escrow before you close for the purchase of your first home. That, my friends, is the first add-on of 3 in the Build Back Better bill, which is currently in the Senate. Let's now turn to that second cluster of checks and see what's behind door number 2. Behind door number 2 is the huge paid leave. A lot of money. This is if you stay home due to sickness or illness. $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. Wow. If you make $35,000 or more per year, $800 a week. If you make $15,000 or more per year, $400 a week. W-2 1099, you get it. If you don't work, but your son or daughter does work and has to take you to the doctor's office, they get as well. It's $46,000 a year, and it's huge. That is paid leave in the second cluster of the Build Back Better Act. Then, what is also that second cluster? Home repairs to weatherize your home. Hold up. Hold your bunny ears just right there. Wiggle your tail. We got a surprise. Yes, hop to it, because guess what? That is your first stimulus check that Joe Biden made law. Yes, it's by law. It's law by executive action, and you need to hop to it because that check is now available for you to get. So let's go over back to that graphic. Checks A, B, and C. It's huge, and this is check A. To weatherize your home. A home weatherizing grant check became law and is landed in people's bank accounts. So let's look at that incredible check right now. It is check A, $6,500. Wow. It became law March 31st, so you really have to hop to it. Do it right tonight. I'm going to show you how to get this $6,500 check. It's a 4 stimulus check. It is now landed. People have gotten it, but you can't sit on your furry tail. You need to hop to getting this incredible check. How do you get this check? It's coming up in the second half of this video. Me and all the bunnies will take you there to the point of learning. That's coming up later in the second half of this video. Now, let's go to where we were in that second cluster of checks. That second cluster of checks had huge checks in there. The other one is paid leave. That is staying in there, which tees up then the second add-on of checks. A little bit less than $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. That's from Bob Casey. Let's turn to that third cluster of checks. Huge. Free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, seniors checks. And that is where the seniors get lots of checks. Let's look at them right now. They got in their dental checks, vision checks, hearing checks, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55 checks, dental checks, and then the Medicaid gap fix that will provide a workaround plan for uninsured people in 12 Republican holdout states, which is par for the course when we're talking about adding checks to the Build Back Better bill. The other checks that they represent they would add in there are MSC. MSC, baby, monthly IRS stimulus checks. This is a body of legislation that would be added to the Build Back Better Act the legislators represent. Let's go over the eligibility and the numbers right now. Single individual, 75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, 150,000 less, you get it. Double it. Family of 4, you get as well. Quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, you get it as well. It's not income. It's not taxable. It's offered nationwide. Goes off that most recent tax return. So if it had direct deposit on it, that's how you get paid. Otherwise, in the mail. Adult dependents would get it as well. It is not income. It's not taxable. And then the amount. How much is the amount? $2,000 the first month, $1,000 after, over 6 months at most, which adds up to $6,000. That's huge, and that is the Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon. Now, later in this video, tonight, we're going to have a little bit of my commentary, but let me give you a preview of where we are right so far in the video. We just went over the Build Back Better bill. It's not law yet. You refer it to as fourth stimulus. But the President of the United States, in incredible great news tonight, has taken out 2 checks of the Build Back Better bill and made them law for you to get. So hop to them. Hop to them and get those 2 checks. What are they? They are checks A and B. 2 checks have become a law by the President of the United States because he can make things law as much as Congress. That check A is a $6,500 check. Hop to it. Grab it tonight. Check B, a $15,000 to $80,000 check. Hop to it. And then an MSC check, check C. This is where it gets fascinating. Look at that check C. That MSC check that came from third stimulus. It's still paid out. $24,000? Yeah. You remember what I just said a second ago? The fourth stimulus, Build Back Better Act, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, is only $6,000. It should be $7,000. This is $24,000. So it's 300% more money, and it's available today. You don't have to wait for this check. It's available today. I'm going to go over more about that check later in this video and more about my analysis of the situation. Now, as we look at the situation for inflation, Jay Powell, the head of the Reserve, his job is to reduce inflation by raising interest rates. But he doesn't want to raise them too quickly because we go into recession. But are we already in recession? And then there's the part of the equation, the SS300 part of the equation. Joe Biden, running for president of the United States, representative who swap your benefits out for college for inflation. And that's great because inflation's high, like price of gasoline. If he swapped out COLA for inflation today, you'd lock in 8% for that inflationary number. That would raise your benefits up $200 a month, not just this month, not just this year, but a lifetime. Wow, that's great. And if inflation tracked to 4% later this year, you get another $100. That is even better. That's SS300. $300 more per month, not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime. But what makes this a little bit more complicated? It's the complication of trying to figure out when Joe's going to make the phone call and when Jay Powell's going to reduce the inflation. And is Jay Powell really going to be able to reduce the inflation? There's one thing to say he's going to try to, but is he really going to be able to? Let me give you the analysis tonight. The analysis tonight is that Joe Biden needs to make that swap from COLA to inflation this month. If he makes a swap today, this month in April, or any time in maybe early May, I think we're good. I think we lock in that $200 more per month. What about later this year? I'll go over later this year in just a second. But Jay Powell's coming in more aggressively. He's coming in more aggressively because guess what? That inflation is getting more aggressive. And by coming in more aggressively, Jay Powell's now signaling that he's going to do more aggressive interest rate spikes over the next 2 FOMC meetings. Those meetings are once per month. If he comes in more aggressively, what does that mean for the Federal Reserve? What does it mean for inflation? Let me give the analysis right today. The Federal Reserve is looking at doing half basis point, not quarter basis point, at the April and May FOMC meetings, many analysts believe. In fact, the guidance may suggest that the Federal Reserve may do those half basis points indefinitely to potentially the end of the year. Under that narrative, and I'm saying the word narrative slowly, under that narrative, the concept is that Jay Powell will try to reduce that inflation dramatically, quickly. Going to work? No, it's not going to work. That's why I said narrative. It's a narrative. It's not going to work. Why? Because the inflation that's being caused in the U.S. economy right now is caused because of supply chain disruption. And Jay Powell does not have the tools in his toolbox to get that type of inflation down. What type of supply chain disruption? Things like gasoline, things like the price of wheat and grain and your bread and your food at the supermarket. He does not have the tools to get them down. They're caused by supply chain disruption. And what's supply chain disruption? That is when it's difficult to get the supply from the manufacturer, the farmer, or the grower to you. Too difficult to get it to you, then there's less of it. If there's less of it, the price goes up. Pretty easy concept. The problem tonight is that there's now not one, not three, but not two, but three supply chain disruptions as of tonight's recording for April 16, 2022. And one of them is perhaps the start of maybe others to come. Let me tell you what's going on. When we're done with the spread of Omicron after Delta, we were coming off those lockdowns and we had supply chain disruption. We did not have truckers to get the products to you. So there was a shortage of products and the products prices went up. We all understand that. That's pretty easy. Then when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, we had more supply chain disruption. That was pretty simple. Less oil, less fertilizer, less steel, those products that come from Ukraine and Russia. So those prices went up. That's also supply chain disruption number two. Then supply chain disruption number three came out of nowhere. It's really come out in the last 7 days, and here's what you're hearing tonight as well. This supply chain disruption number three is out of China. Why? China is going under new COVID restrictions and lockdowns because of subvariant Omicron. It's another variant of the virus. And those lockdowns impact our economy because guess what? Our products are produced, are made in China and shipped back to the United States. We can't get them back. And then the Chinese products that we buy can't get here as well. So that's causing price escalation, another supply chain disruption. What's new tonight as well is a potential fourth price escalation. Those are the European products that we import that are suffering their version of Omicron subvariant tonight as well. As that spread of the variant overseas in Europe is hitting, then that type of supply chain disruption will occur as well. With that, the takeaway is that Jay Powell does really not have the tools to get that type of inflation down. And if he can't get that type of inflation down, then guess what? It stays high. The Federal Reserve, half basis point this month, is it going to work? No, it's not going to work. Half basis point in May, is it going to work? I don't think it's going to work either. And what about the end of the year? Jay Powell says he's going to try to reduce inflation to 1.9% by the end of the year. Is that going to work? I don't think it's going to work either because I think it's going to track at about 4%. I don't think he has the tools to get it down that low. So the takeaway is that Joe Biden needs to make that swap from COLA to inflation right tonight to lock in that $200 more per month. And then what about later this year? Later this year, the inflation rate is likely, in my opinion, to still hover at about 4%. I don't think Jay Powell is going to get it down to 1.9%. And that would be SS300. That would be $300 more per month for your benefits. Now, there's a lot of economic data that came in from the Federal Reserve, for the Federal Reserve, and for also you, this economy, Build Back Better Act, and SS300 in the last few days. And I got to tell you, all the data helps you and helps this effort. It helps get Build Back Better Act done and helps also get SS300 out the door. Why? Because the economic data validates what I just sent to you. Else, also, it shows that the U.S. economy is stalling up. It's shrinking. It's having problems. When we look at economic data, we call it a hit or a miss. If it's a hit, it means it came in stronger. Let's say we're looking for 10 new jobs and they only had 4 jobs generated. That's a miss. A hit would be 20 new jobs generated. So what's the economic data in the last 7 days? It's generally all misses with the exception of the unemployment numbers. Let's go over the details right today. First, the GDP, the gross national product, which is an important number, folks, because that GDP number signals whether you have recession or not. It shrunk. Wall Street is looking at 7.1% GDP. It came in at 6.9%. And then they quickly said, get ready for 4%. Now remember, GDP is negative during a recession. So you can have -1, -2. Many analysts now believe that GDP will drop to less than 2% by the end of the year. I believe it's going to drop to 0 or less than 1%. I don't think it's going to go to a negative number. And that is why that GDP is a critical number when we're looking at the U.S. economy. Translation is it's stalling up. It's stalling up, and that is indication of why you need Build Back Better Act and SS300 to be done. Second number that came in is the housing starts. Housing starts refer to how many homes are sold in the month. They're down 4 consecutive months. That's a major miss. Then the mortgage rate surging to its highest level of generation, 5%. That is a miss because no one can afford a home at 5%. Then the auto sales dramatically down. Those auto sales continue to dramatically fall as the mortgage rates continue to grow. Interest rates are surging slowly as that makes it difficult to lend, to borrow, to buy a car, to have credit card debt. That is all major misses. What are the other major misses across the board? The other major misses are the number of job creations. They slipped. They were looking for non-farm payroll job creation last month. It was a miss, and nearly 60,000 jobs missing. So of all those data, the only number that came in was a beat, was the unemployment numbers in the United States. It was a major beat. Lowest number of new unemployment claims since the 1960s in 1 week, and the lowest number of reoccurring unemployment claims in nearly 3 years. So that was a major beat. The translation for you tonight is that with so much economic data that's a miss, before we even get to oil, wheat, and grain, that helps Build Back Better Act. Because the concept of passing stimulus is when you need it, they'll do it. And if you need it, it will be amplified in exemplary data from the economy. The data suggests that the economy is stalling up and that you need it. That's good for Build Back Better Act. What about that SS300? The SS300 also is very good because we don't see that the inflationary number is actually weakening. It's actually getting stronger. Let's look at that data as well. Where is inflation tonight for April 16, 2022? Well, that's sort of a narrative we do on this channel every night. Last summer, I said inflation was going to be 8% in December and was going to stay hot for several months. Jay Powell said it was going to be 1 to 2 months at 2 to 3%. I said, not true. Not true. He got it wrong. Came at 8% in December, as I predicted. I said 8% January. I got it right. I said 8% February. I got it right. Then in March, I said, you know what? The price of gasoline's gone up more since February. And the price of consumer products like wheat, consumer staples like wheat and grain, breakfast cereal, has gone up a lot since February. I think inflation is tracking higher. I was right again. The CPI number released just days ago revealed that the price of energy went up 11% in March compared to February. That's in 1 month. That's in 1 month, folks. Then when we look at the price of those consumer staples like food, they went up several percentage points in 1 month as well. There's some food that surprised a lot of people that were things like fruits and vegetables. They went up staggeringly in 1 month alone. Food rose 1 month for the month of March compared to the month of February. But ground beef, citrus food, fresh vegetables went up more than 2% in 30 days. Overall, the U.S. economy saw price of consumer goods go up less than 1/3% in 1 month. So it went up higher. Wall Street is looking at a 0.5 percentage point higher. What is the takeaway? Joe Biden made that swap from COVID inflation right today because it may likely be higher than 8% right tonight. It may be actually be 8.2, 8.1. It's certainly not 7, certainly not 6%, certainly not 7.5%. So Joe, if he made that swap today, you lock in $200 more per month, that you're ready to rock and roll. Then what about inflation by the end of the year? I just do not think in any universe that Jay Powell is going to get to 1.9%. I think it's going to track it to 4% because I see the supply chain disruption problem not going away. Do you see a solution for the supply chain disruption pre-Putin? I don't see a solution. Do you see a solution for the Putin issue? I don't see one. Do you see a solution for supply chain disruption caused by Omicron subvariants spreading every 10 seconds? I don't see a solution. So I really see the supply chain disruption still with us. And until someone in the Western countries figure out a solution to it, I think that supply chain disruption is going to be with us. Inflation is going to be hotter, and that's good for your SS300. Now let's turn to 3 incredible checks. And I'm going to give you my insight a little bit earlier in this video than I usually do. What's important to understand is that the way that Congress works is that they try to do things, and then the president tries to do things. And if they don't get it exactly the way they want it, then they pivot and they do it something differently. What I need you to do is I need you to really focus. And I need you to not be a yodel. What is a yodel? YDL. A yodel is someone who does not listen. You're not listening. You don't listen. YDL. You don't listen. And a yodel is someone that simply hears the first words of a video. Maybe doesn't even hear the video starting to play. And has 900 questions to ask. The yodel will say things like the following when we're looking at the 3 major checks landing. Well, what about the other checks? Now, get these checks right now. Well, when are I haven't gotten these 3 checks because you got to do something. You have to hop to get those things. Well, I didn't have to do that for second or third stimulus. This is 2022. This is not 2020. You need to listen and you need to do exactly what's covered in this video. Because guess what? If you're just repeating what you're in your back of your mind, then you're not listening what's at issue. Let's look at these 3 checks and let's go over what you need to do and what you need to not do as a yodel. First, 3 checks have now landed. Check A, a forced stimulus check. Check B, a forced stimulus check. And check C, an MSC check. You need to not yodel and say, well, when is that $6,500 automatically coming in my bank account? It's not automatically. You have to apply to get it. When is that $15,000 to $80,000 check coming in my bank account? It's not automatically coming. You have to apply to get it. Or a yodel will say something like, well, when is SSI getting that check A? Today, last month. I've had SSI viewers get it since day 1 of March 31st. Check A is a $6,500 check that every viewer of this channel, whether it is a renter or homeowner, can get since March 31st. Check B is a $15,000 to $80,000 check that my homeowners have been getting since March 4th. And check C is a check for renters and homeowners that have been gotten by viewers of this channel since early 2021. A yodel will say, well, I didn't have to do that for first or second stimulus because that is 2020. This is 2022. You need to do what's covered in the video and not think about something else. Moreover, here's a really big tough love moment earlier in tonight's video. You got to, in getting these sums of money, get them. You got to get them. You got to hop to it. It's Easter weekend. What a better analogy than ever. You have to hop and get these big sums of money. Why? Some viewers are sitting back and saying, you know, I'm just going to wait for forced stimulus. I'm going to wait for that bill in Congress. Why? Do you got so much cash on hand in the bank account that you can afford to do that? Then go ahead and do that. But if you don't, then you're setting yourself up for peril because no one knows what date the Build Back Better bill will be called for a vote. No one knows exactly what will be the final Build Back Better bill. And last night I had one viewer who I really gave a anti-yodel remark to. She said, well, I don't care about check C. I want the MSCs of forced stimulus recon. I was promised. They always say it that way. I was promised. And I said to her, who promised it to you? Those 3 people. Well, I said to her, listen, lady, there are hundreds of congressional legislators in the Senate and the House. If 3 people told you that they're going to give you an MSC check, that's 3 people. That is not 100 plus 2 branches of Congress. So don't take that to the bank and say you were promised anything because that's 3 people. Now, they may do it. And I want to say, as soon as I say that, someone's going to say, you're saying you are not getting anything. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying don't run with these languages. Don't run with the language that you were promised something by 3 people, that 100 people in Congress are going to do something for you. Don't run with the narrative that Congress, when they're doing drafts of legislation, they don't change them. They can change them up. They can change it from 6 months of checks to 1 month of checks to no checks. They can change anything they want to change. Or they can change it to only people who are 10 years and younger are going to get checks. Yeah, that just scared you, did it? Only children are going to get checks. We're not even going to give any MSC checks to seniors on this forced stimulus recon. They can change anything up they want to change. So in scaring the shoes off the yodels right there, who need to stop yodeling, what you need to understand is that when there's checks available, you cash those checks. You literally cash those checks. 1, 2, and 3 major checks that are available tonight. And we're going to see how to get those big checks in the second half of this video. It's important to understand that this is the part of the video where you want to get that pen and paper ready to take notes. And you want to listen because this is where the big checks are coming on in. We're going to go over all those big checks in the second half of this video. Then we'll be going over what's going on with that recessionary pressures. The great news is the president has now forgiven student loan debt. Whose debts have been forgiven? It's a major developing detail. It's coming up in the second half of this video. Then we'll be looking at what's going on with 6 stimulus, the hugest, biggest stimulus package of a generation. Yes. Again, this is where Yodel will say something like, why are we talking about 6? We haven't gotten 4. Because stimulus packages overlap. Sometimes they jump in front of another one. 4 stimulus checks have now landed in people's hands. And then 5th stimulus is also potentially happening at the same time as 4th. 3rd is also happening at the same time as now. 6 is coming up potentially in April. That is how stimulus packages overlap. And guess what? 7 stimulus, that student loan debt forgiveness, has now happened. So 7 stimulus for student loan debt forgiveness has happened before even the magnitude of 5th stimulus. That's how stimulus packages happen. And we got a lot coming up in the second half of this video. Plus, we got a preview of what's going on this channel and a little bit more of my commentary about how the importance of cashing checks when they're available and not waiting for a check that's not available. Those details and more coming up in the second half. It's a big Easter weekend. I hope you're having a beautiful weekend as well. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as we go into a big second half for Easter weekend for April 2022. See you back in 60 seconds as Evenings LA continues this big night starting right now. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues in the big second half of Evenings LALATE tonight from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Happy Easter. Hope you're having a beautiful Easter weekend with you and your bunnies. And make sure it's bunny appropriate. In the big second half of this video, we're going to go over what the bunnies are doing for their stimulus and what you're doing for your big checks. Big checks, not one, not two, but 3 major checks have landed. And I'll give you a lot of tough love in the second half of those videos as we go over these 3 checks, A, B, and C. Then we'll be turning to the changing, developing details of that student loan debt forgiveness. Yes, 7 stimulus is happening right now. It happened this week, and more could happen next week. Then we'll be looking at what's going on with that 6th stimulus. The trifecta of Germany, France, and the United States. This is the biggest stimulus package of a generation. We'll go over what's going on with that front tonight and why the price of gasoline domestically at the pump as you go into an Easter weekend is not particularly coming down at all, and why the price of wheat could actually go even higher. And with that, we go into a big second half of Evenings LALATE tonight. I'm excited for you, and thank you for joining me on a big night across the board. Let's look at where we are tonight. Where we are tonight when we look at the state of stimulus and the state of sending out checks to the United States government. A lot of stimulus packages are overlapping. 7 stimulus had major developing details this week where checks were literally, basically, effectively given, where they forgave student loan debts absolutely 100%. 7 stimulus happened this week. Then, we also had 4 stimulus checks land in people's hands this week as well. 3rd stimulus checks land in people's hands. So there's a lot of overlap when we're looking at stimulus packages. What's important to understand is that when you're looking at the scope of a recording on this channel for the 1-hour broadcast, you want to get every check that's covered in this recording. You qualify. If you're a renter, if you're a homeowner, I got checks for you. Lots of checks, massive checks. And you want to pounce. Here's what I've had to deal with in the last 7 days, and it's gotta stop, folks. It's gotta stop. People who want to use the narrative of what happened in 2020 as the narrative of what's happening in 2022. Gotta stop it. Gotta stop it. But in 2022, I didn't have to do this. Or in 2020, I didn't have to do this. 2021, I didn't have to do this. Yeah, this is 2022. You gotta do it. You don't want to do it. There's nothing landing in your hands this week, potentially this month, except these checks, and they're huge. Now let's take a step back for a second. When we always sat around in the month of February or March, we said, actually it's February, we said, you know what? I don't know if Congress is going to get us any money. I don't know if Congress is going to get any of this money. So what happened? The President of the United States took 2 stimulus checks out and made them law. It took a little bit of time for me to tell the viewers of this channel that that money had become law. And viewers got those checks. As soon as they became law, I announced them to viewers of the channel. And while it took a little bit of understanding to understand the checks have landed, then the viewers pounced and got them. Now, some people said, but wait a second. I didn't have to do that under 2020's notion of how you do things. This ain't 2020, folks. This is 2022. Next, people have literally become obsessed to the universe of massive obsession across all these stimulus packages with one provision. And you know what the provision is? MSC. They've absolutely become obsessed with that MSC from Forced Stimulus Recon of the Build Back Better Act in such a bad disregard that they're literally taking everything else of Forced Stimulus Recon and throwing it into the water. Forced Stimulus Recon always had the concept that you had to do something to get checks, whether they're talking about paid leave, or we're talking about dental, vision, whether they're talking about the home repairs or the new home purchases. The federal government is not sending you a check just to go buy a home, and then here's a check, and then when you go find the home, just go cash it. No. You have to actually ask for these monies. That was always how forced stimulus has happened. And so along the way, some people have sort of taken this MSC to an infatuation where they literally have a prayer room, where they go in and pray to that MSC every single day. Why? It's only $7,000, folks. Wake up. Wake up. You are in a false sense of reality. The MSC of Forced Stimulus Recon is only $7,000. Yeah, it's there. It's $7,000. It's good. But it's only $7,000. It is not $24,000. No one in Congress is ever going to give you $2,000 a month for 12 months. They never said that. They never said that. You may have said that to yourself. They never said that. They said $2,000 the first month, over $1,000 thereafter for 6 months. That's $7,000. So where are we going in this tough love? We're saying that basically, stop it. Stop it with this self-proclaimed obsession with one thing and throwing everything else out to the water. Some people have become so obsessed with forced stimulus bill MSCs that they have rewritten what it was to become, saying that they were supposed to get $24,000. No one was giving you $24,000 of forced stimulus recon MSCs. No one was ever doing that. Then they've run this narrative that everything in the Build Back Better Act was automatic. You just sit there and you stand by the mailbox and it lands in your bank account. Nothing in that Build Back Better Act was ever supposed to be like that, with the exception of the MSC. And with that, guess what they're doing? They're saying, I don't want any of this. You don't want money? You don't want money? I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know where this is coming from. So with that, let's look at the money that's available right now. And I'm going to be even harder on you, saying, why have you not gotten these checks? Are you... yeah, I almost said something. Yeah, that word. Are you yodeling? I think you're yodeling. There we go. A $6,500 check is now law. Have you gotten it? You need to get it. It's a homeowner's weatherizing grant check. And I'll show you how to get it in just 10 seconds. It became law March 31st, 2022. In the no less than 1 month that has passed, you may have been thinking about stuff in the future and passed up this check. Well, guess what? You're hitting yourself in the foot, because these checks are going to run out during that time in which you've looked away and ignored the check, potentially. Check B, a $15,000 to $80,000 check has become law since March 4th. This is huge. It's more than anything in Build Back Better Act will ever give you. $66,000 to $80,000 is what viewers have gotten who have pounced and gotten these checks. They became law on March 4th. Guess what? Every single day you're waiting. Thousands of people getting in front of you in line. You're wasting your time. You're waiting too long. Become a member. Get that check right tonight. And then check C, $24,000 MSC checks. Wow. Let's go over each of those checks one at a time. First, how do you get these incredible checks? You become a member. The link's at the top of the chat and the pinned comment. Become a member today. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. The membership link is at the top of the chat and the pinned comment. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Let's go into those three checks one at a time. First, a $6,500 check has become law. It's landed. First, how much is it? It's $6,500 to $12,000. Huge. Number two, how do you get this forced stimulus check? Well, the eligibility is the same as the third stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. If you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security or rural benefits, you can get it. Finally, the last qualification is that you own a home. So how do you get this $6,500 forced stimulus check? This is where the yodels come on in and say ridiculous yodeling, which is, I haven't gotten it. It hasn't landed in my bank account. When does it land on a particular credit card by direct deposit? It doesn't. You gotta go get it. Why do you think I'm making a video to explain to you how to get it when you're not hopping to it? Put that bunny suit on and hop to it. You don't have to look like a beach bunny, but it would help. It would be appreciated. And you have to sit in the eggs chair, but that would help as well. So let's hop to how to get this incredible check, this Build Back Better Act for Stimulus Recon check that is now law. To get this $6,500 check, you want to become a member. First, go under this video at the top of the chat and become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday. That newsletter is delivered 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. That newsletter is incredible because in that newsletter, you will go in there and get that big check. Then what's next at issue is that you'll go into that newsletter and you'll see in there the links and the description. It'll go over $6,500 check, and in that check, then you will see an application link. You'll go in and apply. You'll go in and apply and get that incredible check across the door. Then, when you get that application in there, you will get funded. Let's look at check B. Check B is even better across the board. Check B is a $15,000 to $80,000 check. That check B is huge. And that check B is $15,000 to $80,000. It is for homeowners as well. This is the homeowners grant. How do you get that check? Wow. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. And if you're on benefits, you can get it as well. It is the homeowners grant check. And this grant check is big, and wow. How do you do it? You go right into the membership newsletter, get it tonight, get it this evening, and go right in there. It'll have a link to the national website. Click the link that you're going to your state, then click there and you get your application on file. Once in there, your application is approved, you're ready to pounce. That is check B. Check C is for renters and homeowners. Check A, if you're a homeowner, you can get A, B, and C. And if you're a renter, you can get check C. Check C is an MSE check. Now, this is where the yodels really want to choke themselves. Why? Because look how much darn money it is. This is ridiculous. Can't even imagine I'm saying this on Evenings LA. An MSE check for Stimulus Recon is $7,000. It's $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. As indicated, it's not law yet. They haven't even put it in the bill. The bill's not finished. You're waiting for something that doesn't even have a complete bill, that doesn't have a complete vote. That's $7,000. When you can have $24,000, yeah, you qualify for this money. That is why the viewership of this channel who have listened have done it so well. But in recent days, some people have literally just run their yodeling. So just run their yodeling. And in running their yodeling, they're passing up incredible checks. So let's look at the success stories by people who did not yodel, and really got those big sums of money since third stimulus became law. Look at these incredible sums of money. Did these people yodel? They did not yodel. They went and got these big sums of money for rent, utilities, mortgage, and more. Look at these sums of money. Do you think the federal government is sending you a direct deposit check of $27,000 just because you look pretty on the beach in your bunny suit? No, they are not. They're not sending you a $27,000 direct deposit account check just because you are alive. These are people who hop to it in major form. $7,000, $5,000. Let's go back to that first graphic. Nisi, she's under the Evenings LA overlay. She got $20,000 at the time. She's gotten another $20,000 since then. She's gotten $40,000. Look at these combo items. Here's Mark, he was at $32,000. Then what did Mark do? He got more items, brought himself to $50,000. Got more items, brought himself to $100,000. Now he's at $166,000. Here's Lorraine. She was at $105,000. Now she's at $120,000. For the people who literally hop to nothing and just sit on their chair, you aren't doing yourself a service. You aren't doing yourself a service. You are hurting yourself financially. You are hurting yourself financially, and I gotta tell you, I ain't gonna make this recording again. I'm giving you one night of tough love, and this is the only night of tough love. You are hurting yourself because you are not getting checks that are available, and you're just running your yodeling. But I didn't have to do this before. Let's be very frank. Don't play games with me. I know what game you're playing. No one in the federal government ever before gave you $80,000 of stimulus checks. No one ever did. They gave you $600. There's a little bit different between $600 and $880,000. No one in the federal government ever gave you an $80,000 stimulus check in 2020. Because the check is bigger, you got to do something to get it. And you can get it. And don't run that narrative, but very few people qualify. No, most viewers either rent or own. If there's very few other permutations available. Now, if you're a homeless person, my deepest feelings are for you, but the fourth stimulus recount has very little money in there for homeless people. It never did. But if you rent or own, these are checks for you. And then for someone who says, well, is there a separate check for SSI or SSDI or a separate check for veterans? No, this is the check for you. You all get it. And I've had people on SSI get $66,000 from these checks. That is why you cannot sit around and wait for these checks. Now, let's go into the incredible great news about why it's important to stay with this channel and watch the videos throughout their entirety. Because suddenly you may see out of nowhere a major announcement that no one saw coming, and that's what happened no less than 24 hours ago when student loan debt was forgiven. Period. Did you hear me right? Yeah, you did hear me right. And that's a shocker. And no one saw it coming. Student loan debt forgiveness was forgiven this week. Individuals who had been defrauded by their universities had their debts forgiven by the federal government on Thursday night. This is a major developing breaking news. The federal government also the day before said that if your debts were in default, it would put you to good standing. That was also breaking news. Finally, that any individuals other than that had debts still paying, they're still due to be paid, those debts do not have to be repaid to at least September. That date has been rolled over. So good news across the board, changing developing details as well. Then when we looked at the price of gasoline, wheat, and grain, and soybeans tonight, and what's going on with six stimulus? Well, the federal government has tried to solve the situation with gasoline, hasn't gotten it right. Number one, the federal government was trying to release strategic reserves of 1 million barrels per day over 6 months to solve the situation. I said, was it going to work? It hasn't worked. Why? 1 million barrels versus how many missing? 3 million missing. Russia accounts for 3 million barrels internationally that are no longer available. Internationally, we're trying to solve the oil, not just the United States, because the price we pay at the pump is determined by the international availability of oil. How many barrels are we releasing per day? 1 million. That's not going to cut it. Then the partner allies release another 500,000 per day. That's 1.5 million versus 3 million. Not going to cut it. Then when we look at the price of wheat, grain, and corn, it's getting worse. Remember this channel, those numbers are going up dramatically day in, day out, to the highest levels we've seen of a generation. And guess what? We're not done there yet. Analysts now believe that the price of wheat and grain could go up another 40%. This is astronomical recessionary pressures with inflation at the same time, because guess what? Normally recession does not have price escalation or costs going up, but this is a war session, W-A-R session, some analysts believe, where the costs may continue to go higher as supply chain disruption is still an issue. You can't afford a $7 loaf of bread, and you can't afford a $4 gallon of gasoline at the pump. Those are both recessionary pressures, and there's no inherent solution for them across the board tonight. Throughout the evening, we'll have a lot more recordings, and those recordings will continue to grow with evening's countdown at 6 o'clock, evening's LALATE at 5 o'clock, evening's stream stimulus at 7 o'clock, and evening's extra at 8 o'clock. Then at 9 o'clock, sunset comes back to this channel. And with that, I wish all of you a beautiful Easter. It's nights like this that I have to give that tough love, because guess what? You got to stay on focus. If you run the yodeling and you really miss up on available checks, you're hitting your foot with a bunny tail. And it's not going to look good. I mean, it may look good for Easter, but it's not going to look good after that, because there's checks available. And get those checks. Stop the yodeling. Stop talking about 2020 as the way it was done before. Stop talking about a stimulus package that's not law and why you want that versus something that is law yet. I fought very hard to get every single darn check for you. I fought very, very hard to get all these checks for you so that when they became law, I found them. And I made the recording to explain you how to get the check. And if you don't get the check because you want to wait around for a check that you think pays $2,000 a month over 12 months, you've done a really good job in yodeling, but a very bad job in listening. And guess what's going to happen with you? I don't want to know, but it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty because you've run a narrative in your mind that there's something out there that never existed that is better than the reality of big checks right now. Let's recap. 3 checks are available right now, and they're huge, and you deserve every single one of them. If you're a renter or homeowner, go get those checks. Look at these astronomical amounts. $6,500, get them right tonight. $15,000 to $80,000, get them right tonight. MSC checks, $2,000, $24,000, get them right tonight. Want to learn more about it, how to get them? Watch the next video right after this. I'll go over it as well. But you need to become a member. Go to the top of the chat under the video. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Get that newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Get that newsletter, read it right away, go right in, apply. You can apply on the weekend. Get those applications on file. And with that, I'm excited to join you all throughout the weekend. Have a beautiful Easter. Nights like this that I got to give this tough love so you get the right thing and the right thing quickly. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.